Yeah. You know, I really thought coming out here tonight would cure what ails me. All it did was reinforce what I've realized over the past 9 months. It genuinely seems like you miss me. I can honestly say, from the bottom of my heart, I honestly did not miss any of this or any one of you. Yeah, so it turns out WWE is a super, toxic environment. Yeah, it's not because of the McMahons, and it ain't because of the other WWE superstars. It's because of this audience and your ugliness. Let me be honest. I live a very meaningful and fulfilled life. I'm quite happy. But your lives seem so empty and so devoid of any kind of meaning that the only joy you get, it's not even from coming out and enjoying the shows as fans. You only get joy and satisfaction out of being critics. You want to know why that is, moron? It's because it's the only thing that gives you any sort of sense of self-importance. You judge everyone and you judge everything except yourselves. You want to know why that is? It's because none of you have the balls to look inside yourself. Because you know the ugliness and the cynicism that exists inside of you. You're so bloody delusional, it's hilarious. You really think you guys are like the voice of reason? You really think you guys are like the voices that should be heard? Hear me roar. No, seemingly overnight, you have become the evil overlords of WWE. Sami Zayn has been about one thing his entire career and his entire life, and that is doing what is right. And now the right thing to do isn't to come back and save WWE. And it's not to come over and take over the WWE. The right thing to do is to come out here every single week and hold each and every single one of you accountable, because nobody else will. See you in hell.
You can call till your voice is running out, but I can't hear you now. I can't hear you now. I'm somewhere far away where you can't bring me down. So I can't hear you now. I can't hear you now. Yeah, run it back, tell them what I'm coming at. I was on that bullshit then, now I'm done with that. Scared of what I didn't want, scared of what I wanted, and thought that I was finished, but I hardly had begun. In fact, I'm a beast, I'm a monster, a savage, and any other metaphor the culture can imagine. And I got a caption for anybody asking. That is, I am feeling fucking fantastic. Some days it doesn't take much to bring me down. Some days I'm struggling for control. Some days it doesn't take much to bring me down. But right now I'm floating above it all. So you can call till your voice is running out, but I can't hear you now. I can't hear you now. I'm somewhere far away where you can't bring me down. So I can't hear you now. I can't hear you now. Yeah, come again, feel it when it's flooding in. Woke up knowing I don't have to be numb again.
again. Starting line scratched out, I don't have to run again. Give a fuck's maxed out, tell them I'm not coming in. I'm not present on the payroll, and you can tell me I should do it cause you say so. But I'm not dancing to the rhythm you replay, no. Cause I'm already half a million miles away, though, they know.
Some days it doesn't take much to bring me down. Some days I'm struggling for control. Some days it doesn't take much to bring me down. Right now I'm floating above it all. So you can call till your voice is running out. But I can't hear you now. I can't hear you now. I'm somewhere far away where you can't bring me down. So I can't hear you now. I can't hear you now. And I waited too long. I listened too much. You said what can't be unheard. I'm drawing a line. Enough is enough. I let you have your last word. So you can call till your voice is running out. But I can't hear you now. I can't hear you now. I'm somewhere far away where you can't bring me down. So I can't hear you now. I can't hear you now. So you can call till your voice is running out. But I can't hear you now. I can't hear you now. I'm somewhere far away where you can't bring me down. So I can't hear you now. I can't hear you now.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Hoots podcast. This is episode 151. I am not Josh Lopez. This is the clown prince of podcasting himself, Adam Daley, hosting today's special edition of the Hoots podcast, where we're doing a little role reversal here. In lieu of the upcoming Superstar Shakeup, we thought it'd be fun if I played host for a change. I haven't hosted a show in a long time that's not real estate based, so this is fantastic. And it will give me the opportunity to kind of pace the show, throw a lot of questions at Josh. You guys won't have to listen to me as much. But first and foremost, let's get the cheap plugs out of the way. Download, subscribe on iTunes and Spotify, guys. Please go leave a review. Tell us what you think about the show. Social media, follow Josh at the Hoots Podcast. That's on Twitter and on Instagram. You don't worry, I don't use social media, so we're not going to get into that much. But what we do want to get into before we get into WrestleMania, notice what I said there, Kofi Mania. And a little bit of things getting burnt down, redesign, rebuild, reclaiming some things. It seems to be a running theme these days. Let's toss it over and see how the good brother Josh Lopez is doing. Josh, what is up today, my man?
What's up, Adam? Welcome everybody to the show. Hope you guys are feeling well. I know that there's been a lot of flu bugs that have been spreading out in the East Coast and the New York area, so I hope everybody's feeling a little bit better now. I'm kind of back to in a normal state now. I've been very busy over the last, 9 to 10 days. I told Adam about this last week. I didn't get any time to sleep. Still pulled off my duties at the tattoo shop, so that was fun. Somebody wanted to get a swastika sign again the other night. So there's a lot of crazy shit. Yeah. Unfortunately, I get working at a tattoo shop for this past year. You get a lot of loonies out there. We get strange requests. It just comes with the territory. But nonetheless, man, I'm doing good, folks. Hope you guys are doing well as well.
All right. Well, listen, I think we all probably have wrestling fatigue as fans, because this is the time of year where we overindulge, rightfully so. I think for a lot of us too, this is where we look at it as like a brand new year. I don't know, Josh. In a weird way, like New Year's to me kind of comes and goes, and it's whatever. It's a day on a calendar. It's another year. It's me accidentally writing the wrong date for like the first month of the year, putting the wrong year. But when WrestleMania comes around, it really does. Because I'm a wrestling mark and I'm such a super fan, it feels like a brand new year. It feels fresh. Everything feels, So I think this is why we put so much probably time and effort into this weekend. That being said, what we're going to talk about today, guys, in the capacity that we have, we're going to try and touch upon NXT TakeOver, G1 Supercard, the Ring of Honor and New Japan Pro Super Show, WWE Hall of Fame real quick, WrestleMania, maybe being the Elite if we have time, Raw and SmackDown, Dark Side of the Ring, a documentary series that's on Viceland right now. Maybe if Josh has any bad takes from the internet, he can shoot my way. That might be great. And we will bring in the lovely AJ Daley, my daughter, to bring in her 9-year-old perspective on WrestleMania and what she thought of this year's event. So, Josh, now that all of that's out of the way, and that's what we're going to get to today, guys, you have been writing. I mean, you're probably just more exhausted than, well, I don't want to say than me. I have different life scenarios going on right now, but than some people listening to this show, you may be a little more exhausted because not only do you watch these, but you're also typing these up. You're also documenting, you're writing your articles for these stories in these shows. Before we dig in deep, what was the most challenging to write for this over the weekend?
From a transcription standpoint, I'd say just catching up with the eliminations for the Battle Royals was kind of hard because it was more fast-paced than a Royal Rumble match. Like, he had everybody starting in the match, so my eyes going a million fucking directions. I'm looking at 3 different things. I'm looking at my typing fingers to make sure I'm doing this right. I'm looking at the screen, so I'm catching up with the people who are in the match, and I'm watching it live, and I'm also having my ears going. I'm listening to the commentary to hear who got eliminated by who. So from that standpoint, that was kind of hard. As far as match is concerned, I thought that 3-way match they had on the G1 show with Dragon Lee, Ishimori, and Bandito, that one was really hard to transcribe because those suckers were going super, super fast. I forgot how long that match was, but catch up with all their sequences was very, very hard. I'm kind of accustomed to title matches with New Japan Pro Wrestling, so something like Jay White and Okada wasn't that hard for me to do, or Ibushi and Naito. That match was fantastic, but I would say the Battle Royals and another match for WrestleMania that was kind of hard that I tried my best to get everything in was the SmackDown Tag Team title match. I thought it was fantastic, but boy, there was a lot of in and out tags. It was kind of hard trying to figure out who was the legal person during the match.
Yeah, there was a lot of action in that match. All around, I thought it was a really good weekend for wrestling.
Right.
We'll get to that though, because I'm sure there's a difference of opinions, somewhere. Because as wrestling fans, that's what we like to do. That's what we like to do, is be the contrarians. So. Not these two wrestling fans, though. And typically, guys, the Hoots podcast, we're not just a wrestling podcast. We talk about comedy. We talk about sports. We talk about wrestling. We talk about current events. We talk about mental health. We talk about, you name it, we're talking about it. But I would be remiss to think that we're not going to talk about basically just wrestling this week, guys. This is the biggest weekend of the year for it. This is where, we're going to be taking on, we're not going to dissect every single match. Right. I don't have 5 hours, but what we are going to do is, touch upon that. So, wrestling fans, we got a big wrestling show, today set up for you. So, Josh, talk to me first about NXT TakeOver Brooklyn. I don't know. Are we putting a Roman numeral beside it, or does it matter? It's just TakeOver Brooklyn, right? That's
TakeOver New York, TakeOver, Brooklyn, 6, who cares at this point? It's like every other takeovers in Brooklyn, so I'm losing count. It's how many takeovers there's. It's all been Barclays, right?
Yeah.
They didn't do a takeover at MSG, so.
MSG was kind of had some other things going on this weekend too.
For the last couple years, they could have put. Yeah. So. TakeOver Brooklyn 5 past Friday. I thought it was a cool show. The drill already. Good luck, Vince. You guys step it up. Oh, second year in a row where TakeOver is better than WrestleMania. Yada yada yada.
That's a strange take, but I'll leave that one at the door.
Yeah, that's a strange take, but it's after every single takeover that happens. So there's some things I did enjoy. I didn't think the show in general was such a classic that I thought, it's the greatest show ever. I thought the opening match with the War Raiders and Aleister Black and Ricochet was fine. It was a nice send-off for Black and Ricochet during their time in NXT. So I really enjoyed that match. I really like the War Raiders entrance, by the way. I don't know about you, Adam, but I think
I agree.
Cool. You like that one?
Yeah, big time. That's one my daughter's really into as well. We watched Rose Wedding with Sarah Logan this week because we were just cramming all kinds of wrestling content in. So it's now, it made a lot more sense to my daughter. Obviously, I mean, I kind of knew the gimmicks, both sides, but I like it, man. I don't know. I think it's over the top, but it's the theatrics are fantastic.
She was in the entrance again this past Friday, so it was cool that she takes time out of her schedule to be part of the entrances and stuff. So that's pretty cool. Other stuff that stood out to me. Well, I didn't think Matt Riddle and Velveteen Dream was awesome or anything like that. I thought the Dream going through like 80s wrestler sequences, I thought that was pretty funny during their match. But Velveteen Dream retained over Matt Riddle. Let's see what else stood out to me. Oh, my favorite match besides the main event was Pete Dunne and Walter. That's my favorite type of title matches. Pete Dunne's the man. I love watching that dude wrestle. And Walter, I've been hyping the dude up for a reason. He's freaking awesome. What was your thoughts on that match, Adam?
No, it's everything a title match should be, in my opinion. Especially somebody who's been carrying a championship for as long as Pete Dunne has. What did he finish at? 600 some days, 500. I think I said 700 last week, and I was wrong. And it's like
629.
Okay, so that's realistically in modern times, that's a long time to carry a championship. And as a Pete Dunne fan, I was hoping he was losing this match so that he could go on to bigger and better things, Right. And I think ultimately that's kind of where we lose sight. But the match itself, I like that it established Walter immediately as a major player. Again, he's so big over in Europe, over in the UK, where he has been in development for a while. It's branded NXT UK for a reason. They're familiar with him. He was instantly over the moment he came in. So, and when it came, and again, when it comes to, all of that, the candy floss of all of that aside, the ring work was fantastic. I mean, these are guys that was British strong style at its finest. I thought that I could have watched these guys wrestle for, another 15, 20 minutes and not, been cool with it. So, I agree with you 100% on that.
The chops that Walter does, man,
they're so vicious. Mm-hmm. They're so mean.
They make Minoru and Suki blush.
They're mean girls. What did you think? What did you think about the Fatal 4-Way match for the NXT Women's Championship?
I thought Bianca Belair did a really good job in that match. She's the one that stood out the most to me during that match. But we talked a little bit about it last week. I just felt that Shayna Baszler still was going to retain, and she is still the NXT Women's Champion after all. And I really don't know what's next because, are some of the girls in the NXT Women's division going up for the Superstar Shakeup, which we'll talk about later. But, they really, really established Baszler is so dominant and maybe at times more dominant than what Asuka was in NXT. Now, I say that and people may think I'm being blasphemous, but just because you have a title, a winning streak, doesn't always mean you're that dominant, in my opinion. I never took wins and loss records in wrestling seriously, and I feel like Baszler's run in NXT, in my opinion, has been more dominant than Asuka's, but that's my point of view.
I think they're hard to compare because different talent was there at different times, But I could listen. I can make an argument for both sides. You absolutely could see your point. I agree with your point in some senses too. So I think that's an excellent point to be made. Do you think Baszler could get caught up and just like forfeit the title?
Is this something where she could come up like Kevin Owens did?
Right.
I don't know. That'd be a cool idea. I had this idea. I want to get your thoughts on this, Adam. Now that we have the NXT UK brand and they're building their brand, and I I had the fortunate opportunity to watch NXT UK each week, and I enjoy a lot of the wrestlers on this show. If we get to the point where NXT may need more talent on air for takeovers, and maybe you get to the point, maybe you have like 6 or 7 matches on a takeover instead of 5, I wouldn't be opposed to using those slots for the other title feuds that are going on in UK.
I agree.
You could have the WWE United Kingdom Championship defended on every takeover. Mm-hmm. You could have some of the other titles in that brand be defended on this show.
I agree. I want to see more of Rhea Ripley. I want to see more of Toni Storm, because Toni Storm is still in UK, correct? She's not. They didn't bring her over to straight NXT yet, right?
Yeah, she's still in UK.
Okay.
Also, the white girl, Killer Kelly, that chick is dope.
Yes. And one other thing that I agree with that. I actually didn't mind the takeover was a little bit longer. I was expecting it to be about 2.5 hour show, but I didn't mind that it ran as long as it did. And I think, Josh, you hit the nail on the head. I wouldn't mind there maybe being that extra match or 2 on there, because I really want to be involved with NXT UK. I'll admit it's something I preach on the show all the time. There's 168 hours in a week. I'm a father. I have a career. I have, It's like that old Cat Williams joke. Don't you climb trees? Nah, motherfucker. I got a job and shit, Like I got a career. Like I got responsibilities. So unfortunately I can't fit as much wrestling in as I would like to. And those are opportunities to see the storylines, again, cause I'm a huge Rhea Ripley fan. It's just hard for me. And I know this sounds easy and lazy, but when, there's just certain parts of the day where you just don't feel like turning your Xbox on, logging on in a network, just find this episode, you just don't want to do it. You're exhausted. You just want to lay around. So, I think that would really benefit the growth of but I think that's probably in the long-term vision. I think that's something as fans we don't see, especially if you're not to sound, this is going to sound a little bit pretentious, but whatever. Now that I'm, kind of more to a business and in the development of a business, I see the importance of having a long-term plan and sticking to it. So I don't get as mad if we don't get it right now, because there's a bigger game plan in place, and there's a financial reason why certain things have to take time. A lot of times it's finances. A lot of times timing is everything. A lot of times, as fans, we can push the lever here and there sometimes with certain things as well, but they have to make sure that they're financially they're going to either be stable. The risk has to be worth the reward has to be worth the risk. The juice has to be worth the squeeze. Whatever you want to say, but I do think it's a part of their game plan going forward. I just think it's a waiting game. Much like the women's revolution started as the Divas Revolution. Once whomever wants to get credit for or whatever, it was a slower process than I think some of us would have liked. However, you just have to trust the process sometimes. So I guess that's probably my take on that. But getting back to the Fatal 4-Way, one thing I pulled out of it, and Baszler is dominant, absolutely correct. I'm a big Io Shirai fan. Big time Io Shirai fan. She's grown on me a lot. I think I really, really enjoy watching her perform. So,
I thought the little exchange that she had with Kyrie, while they didn't go all out being the out of each other, I thought that their little tiff was pretty cool during their match.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, I actually really liked everything about that match. So Shayna Baszler still your NXT Women's Champion for quite some time now.
Yeah.
Main event time. Johnny Gargano versus Adam Cole, baby. For the NXT World Heavyweight Championship, or just it is the World Heavyweight Championship, I believe they call it down there, right? Or is it just
NXT Championship?
NXT Championship. So we're not using World Heavyweight down there quite yet, but unfortunately, an injury to Tommaso Ciampa took him out of this match. What do you think, Josh, from the Cole Gargano match at TakeOver?
Here's the one critique I have of the NXT brand in general as far as how they use their takeovers. While I appreciate that there's a lot of grudge feuds in their title programs, I don't feel there's enough grudge feuds throughout the show, where most of the takeovers are dominated by title matches. You'll have one match here or there that'll be a grudge feud. NXT it's still in a lot of ways where people want to admit it or not, it's still developmental. So for us to get engaged with these characters when they go to the next level, I like to see more grudge programs on NXT as they build for these takeovers. But as far as this match was concerned, it's kind of hard for me to be that blown away with TakeOver main events because I've seen every style of a Johnny Gargano championship match at TakeOver. You look at one he had with Almas, you look at the feud he had with Tommaso Ciampa, other matches along the way. I'm not saying that Johnny wrestling is predictable or anything like that because I am a Johnny Gargano fan. I have a T-shirt of his right next to me. I am a fan of the guy, so it's kind of hard for me to be like, oh my God, this is the greatest thing ever. But my enjoyment and takeaway from that match was from what Adam Cole did, as far as the near falls, the involvement with Undisputed Era. The last 10 minutes of the match was phenomenal. I really, really enjoyed the match. It's just hard sometimes to be blown away with these NXT title matches on a TakeOver because you already seen the same style of title match where it's 30 minutes long. You don't know if Johnny Gargano's going to quit or not. Anything like that, but overall I really enjoyed it. But it was a really, really fun match, and in the end, it was long overdue. We knew this moment was going to happen with Johnny Gargano becoming the NXT champion, so I thought it was cool.
I think the one thing, just to piggyback off what you said about grudge matches, I agree that there probably could be more because NXT does a fantastic job with their video montages before the match. So they would be able to catch the casual fan up, fairly quickly. That, initially that was my concern as well. People who don't watch NXT on a regular basis wouldn't get the grudge matches. Whereas you put a title on the line, it's easier to grab that casual fan. On the flip side of it, as somebody that has, again, I really wish I did have more time, and I know it's only an hour, guys, but I don't watch NXT. We tried to because I wanted to see like the final showdown between Cole and Gargano and really see the build up. And we watched the last episode, and Cole and Gargano weren't even on it, or like it was like a real a little video snippet, and it's kind of I guess you expect certain things. Not saying that you need that, because the episode before is where their placement was, but I do think it sometimes. Where I'm going with this is sometimes things get lost in translation a little bit because I'll admit I have no idea what Johnny Gargano is. Is he Johnny Sports Entertainment? Is he Johnny Wrestling? Is he Johnny TakeOver? Is he Johnny Bad Guy? Is he Johnny Good Guy? Is he Johnny We Supposed to Boom? Or is he Johnny We're Supposed to Cheer Him? Because, I understand he's playing babyface now, I think. I know that that's probably the loudest Adam Cole baby pop I've ever heard in my entire life. That thing was deafening, right? I can only imagine being in Barclays for that. So I think that, and I'm not blaming. Listen, I'm not blaming anybody. Writers, NXT, Johnny Gargano. I'm not placing blame anywhere because they've had to deal with injuries all over the place, characters, just things that are out of your control when you're running a sports entertainment property, especially one that's trying to appease the fans as much as they do. And I think this is where you run into problems where long-term storytelling, you can, not that they haven't done that with Gargano, but your long-term storytelling on the Raw and SmackDown level, it's rare that they deviate because they have to stick to a certain game plan to protect their interest financially and just merchandise and the like. But I think this is where sometimes NXT does stumble on their feet. Not that it's a bad thing. In a way, it's the grittiness of it. I like that, I just think going in, I didn't know. I really didn't. And as an Adam Cole mark, I'm cheering for Adam Cole, and the crowd's cheering for Adam Cole. So I didn't know what Gargano, where he stood. But then, Josh, to me, ultimately, does it really matter? They're just entertainers, right? Thank you. So that whole diatribe that I did right there, while everyone's probably freaking out at home, he's a good guy, he's a bad guy, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't, because I think right now, in this era that we are really submerged in when it comes to professional wrestling, sports entertainment, whatever you want to call it. And I think that's something that Seth Rollins and everybody kept alluding to about how this WrestleMania is going to show you where we're going moving forward.
Yeah.
I think they're showing you that they're going back to not only blurring the lines as much as possible, but it is going to be that old, they're kind of going back to trying to please the fans, but remember, pleasing the fans is also pissing the fans off too. Otherwise, you're not going to get that payoff of being pleased. So, I think I don't know, man. And there's nothing, again, nothing against NXT, because I thought TakeOver was amazing. I was glued to it. You're right, man. There's something in a as much as I loved Cole Gargano, and I love the women's match, there's something about the tag match that opened the show with the War Raiders and Ricochet and Aleister Black that I just really enjoyed. It was a really, really good tag team wrestling. And I mean, that was my major takeaway from that. I mean, just how agile and how athletic the War Raiders are, man. Like, they're going to make a difference once they get up to that Raw and SmackDown. I think I agree with you. I think we do look sometimes too much at titles in a certain company versus a title once they get on Raw and SmackDown or to a different company, an AEW or New Japan Pro or, wherever. But I am in agreement that there's some talent down there that I think will make an instant impact once they hit that main roster. And the War Raiders, especially in a division right now that needs a tag team, not a tag team, but they could use some support in the tag team division, I think the War Raiders would be one of those old school classic feel guys that would still get over with that casual fan.
Right. For me personally, like when there's a collective bubble that tells me after every single main event of a takeover that that's the match of the year, there's no disputing that or anything like that. Like it in some ways for me personally, it turns me off from that match. Because after every takeover, it doesn't matter if it's WrestleMania weekend or SummerSlam weekend or whatever they do these shows, every NXT title match or the main event of that said show is the match of the year. So for me, trying to look at every wrestling show fair and objectively as it is, I can't tell if that's the best match. And we're not even in May yet.
Right. Yeah.
So, like, while I love the match with Johnny Gargano and Adam Cole, I'm not over here being like, okay, there's not going to be a better match than that during the weekend. Like, I saw somebody who's doing articles for a different site who's like, well, good luck WrestleMania having as good as a match as Johnny Gargano and Adam Cole. And I was like, I didn't respond to it, but I was like, okay, we'll see. And then Kofi Kingston and Daniel Bryan stole WrestleMania.
Right. And not only that, it's, I think that by now, listen, and the banter is what keeps this business of ours that we love so much. It's not ours. We're just fortunate enough to watch this business. But, the trivial bickering is what really keeps the needle moving forward for them. Right. So anyway, I don't want to detract from that, but I do think that there's a lot of wasted exponential energy after you're right. Every single takeover, it's, well, that match is the match of the weekend in the year. That match is, and we have to understand they're catering to different audiences. That's why when you do see NXT people, and I know we've said this ad nauseum, but it's almost, this that time of year where it's almost important to bring this back and remind people. Not that I think the people that listen to our show, though, are a little more intelligent than that. But if you're a first time listener, obviously they're both the WWE's Raw and SmackDown are absolutely, it's more of a variety show. We get that. NXT is your hardcore wrestling show. You're going to get those style of matches. Every once in a while, we get that on a WrestleMania. Every once in a while, I thought we had a couple really great matches at WrestleMania, to be honest, to be quite fair. But I think comparing one to the other is absolutely asinine because they're two different styles of wrestling. That's like comparing, again, a New Japan show with a Ring of Honor show. I know they just did a show together, but I'm saying when they do their shows separately, they're telling their own stories. They have their own playbooks. So does WWE with their Raw and SmackDown talent and then with their NXT talent. And with their NXT UK talent now, and wherever else, they're going to dip their hands into next. But I think that's where I thought TakeOver was fantastic. But it wasn't the most pleasing event for me of the weekend. You know what I mean? And that's nothing against – that's still – listen, I enjoyed every minute of NXT. I enjoyed every minute of every show I've watched this weekend. So, I mean, I want to put that out there. But I don't want to take away from NXT at all. But, I've never looked at WrestleMania weekend as I can't wait to go to the NXT show. Like, you're what, like, you don't say I know none of my mates that come over from Scotland and come over from England and come over from Wales. They never say, oh, listen, we're on holiday. We're going over for TakeOver Brooklyn. You say you're coming over for WrestleMania. We're coming in town for WrestleMania. And then it just so happens you go to NXT, so we got to think the real reason why you're that. Without WrestleMania, there is no NXT. So you could say top that. It's topped it. You know what I mean? It really has. But again, different audiences. So the audience that is saying nothing can top this, that's your show. That's the show that's where your heart blood is, and that's fine. But that's where the criticisms that go on the Raw and SmackDown style of sports entertainment, quote unquote, I feel like that's where the criticisms are a little lacking, because you're still not understanding the different styles and stories that they're telling. So, and for how long you've been watching this stuff, come on now. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like I'm an idiot and I can figure out that they're marketing to different audiences. And I don't know shit. But so let's move on to G1 Supercard, Josh. We could probably breeze through this. Ring of Honor and New Japan Pro had their joint G1 Supercard show at Madison Square Garden on Saturday night, the night before WrestleMania. First time in over 60 years that a wrestling event has been held in MSG that was non-WWF/E related, or we can even go back well before that. But Josh, lead us off with this. Talk about some of your favorite matches, favorite moments, and then I'll kind of bring it back on the flip side.
Let me just say really quick, I thought it was really cool that Cole Cabana got to do commentary and wrestle during that pre-show battle royal. I don't know if you got to see that before the pay-per-view came on.
I did.
You watched the Rumble?
Well, it cut on at 7:00 for some reason. So, like, I ordered the pay-per-view, and instead of starting at 6:30 and just let us see the whole thing, it started at 7. We got to watch like the last 15 minutes of the battle royal, and then it just like went to black for a minute until the pay-per-view then came on at 7:30, and it was like, okay, so this was odd. This is why network streaming is so much better. $9.99.
Right.
Director of Operations.
I was really looking forward to seeing who they're going to bring in from the New Japan side of the Rumble. So when I get to see guys like Bad Luck Fale or Suzuki and Ishii come out to these big ass pops at MSG, I'm like, man, that's freaking awesome. And then out of nowhere, you got King Haku popping up. And
Haku's still dangerous.
Yeah.
I am frightened by Haku.
The Great Buddha.
Yeah.
Can you picture a Royal Rumble audience reacting to the Great Buddha coming on at 30? Oh my God, it's not Omega?
Wow. In fairness, Muda didn't look like he was moving around the best, but the sad part is I don't think today's and I know this is where I'm going to get called an ageist. I don't know if today's WWE really even knows how valuable and how important the Great Muta is to wrestling history.
Right.
That's the shame of it. But moving on.
All right. So as far as matches are concerned, really love the opener with Will Ospreay and Jeff Cobb. I thought that match was awesome. Mm-hmm. The tag title match where they had both titles on the line. PCO is a crazy old bastard, man. I thought Shane McMahon was crazy. That dude is insane, man. So Guerrilla's Destiny become the new Ring of Honor World Champions. Out of nowhere, Enzo and Cass XL pop out of nowhere and try to take that show hostage. So I thought that was interesting. The one thing I did not like from G1 was the whole stuff with Bully Ray. And don't get me wrong, I love Flip Gordon. I think he's a tremendous wrestler. I like Flip. He's awesome. But for me personally, and while I don't get to watch Ring of Honor television each week, I already seen Flip Gordon get his revenge on Bully Ray. So I was kind of disappointed with the whole street fight thing, even though it was nice to see Juice Robinson, though. Juice Robinson's awesome.
So now wait. So I missed this because there was one part where I'll admit, listen, man, parents will understand. We had a pay-per-view on, but my daughter was like Skyping with a friend, so I went in, was doing some dishes, cooking, something like that. So I missed a little bit of the early card because I was mainly waiting for like the later matches. And so Enzo and Cass were there, like in the crowd, or like actually involved.
No, they jumped over the barricade after the tag title match was over. Like a bunch of mods.
Oh, man. I thought we were done with Enzo, but most people thought they were done with me hosting a show and looking like herpes. I keep coming back. So, all right, let's talk about some of the main matches. And if there's another match you want to talk about on here, we'll get to that first. Let's talk about the triple threat match for the Ring of Honor Heavyweight Championship between champion Jay Lethal, the villain Marty Scurll, and Matt Taven, leader of the Kingdom. Matt Taven walking out as champion, looking like a mohawk Victor Zaz from Gotham,
or the third member of the Ascension.
And you know what, I
like the Ascension. By the way, that's not a dig towards him.
No, not at all. Yeah, no, not at all. And I'm a Taven fan, so it's not. But I have an opinion about this, and obviously as a Marty super fan. But Josh, obviously you go first, and then I'll bounce back off you.
You know, for me, I really don't get so bogged down by a decision whether somebody I picked to win the match didn't happen. You know, as much as I'd love to see Marty Scurll get that moment at MSG, it didn't happen. They've been telling the story with Matt Taven being the delusional guy where he keeps calling himself the real world champion, and that nobody believes him. Matt Taven's always been the afterthought for Ring of Honor during his time with the company. You know, in the mid cards, this and that. I don't know. In some ways, I felt like Ring of Honor is presented Matt Taven as the Miz of their company over the years. So to see him win the title like that, I was surprised. I didn't see it coming, but I thought the match was awesome. Jay Lethal doing cutters off the ladder. I think he did the Macho Man elbow drop off the ladder too. Some nasty spots on the rampway. I wonder who would win a finger snap battle. Would it be Marty Scurll or Pete Dunne? I like to see that match. Who would get more fingers?
That'd be a good one. I liked how Taven played that off too. You know what? I am going to be in the minority here. I love that Matt Taven won this championship. I really do. There's something about Taven that, to me, I don't want to compare him to the Miz. There's something because he has that borderline psychotic, almost where you really don't know what he's thinking side of him. Where people have never taken that side seriously, right? But now that he's the champion, you're almost forced to as a character. You know, you're forced to take that character serious. And with the Kingdom around him, I'm happy they pulled the trigger on this. Taven's been there for a long time. I've been a Taven fan residually because of the Kingdom, from before with Kanellis and everything. So and Bennett.
Mm-hmm.
So that being said, I also, as a super fan for Marty Scurll, you never want to see one of your favorites lose, obviously, because that's why you watch this stuff. But isn't a loss sometimes a win?
Yes. I
just feel like he's getting closer and closer to a certain roller coaster ride. That's all. That's all. And I think the BTE fans out there know what I'm talking about. So, and if you are leaving a company, you do have to obviously lose. You can't just take a championship and go somewhere. So, although you could probably take the NWA championship and take it to All Elite Wrestling, I'm sure Cody would love to have the old NWA championship. So, I don't know if that changes maybe Marty's match later in the month down in Concord, North Carolina. Cheap plug. But as far as this goes, man, I actually, and listen, and absolutely respect for Jay Lethal as my dog's going crazy over here. Because being a local boy going into MSG as champion, whether you walk out champ or not, we talked about it last week. You've already won. You've already won. So,
right.
I thought that was a really good match. So now talk to us about the main event match between Switchblade Jay White, IWGP champion, going up against Okada. Let's just go with Okada right now. I got a running dog. Yeah.
Let me just say this real quick before we get to the main event. My favorite match of the show was Ibushi against Naito. I've seen these guys wrestle multiple times at different New Japan pay-per-views, and for the U.S. crowd to get that involved into that type of match and that type of stage, I thought was awesome. Naito and Ibushi, tremendous match. Kota Ibushi becomes the new IWGP Intercontinental Champion. Oh, I forgot to mention this. why is Ring of Honor bringing Big Cass in when you already have TK O'Ryan? He looks exactly like him. I don't know. It's something I want to ask you guys out there. The guy TK O'Ryan, who's part of the Kingdom right now, looks exactly like Big Cass. Same height, same goatee. I don't know about same movesets, but I don't know. I don't know if it's something where Ring of Honor is actually signing these two buffoons or not. We'll see. As far as the main event's concerned, I really enjoyed this match more than their match at Wrestle Kingdom. Their match at Wrestle Kingdom was kind of shorter, actually, than what it was for the main event. Jay White's awesome. We talked a little bit about it last week. I think Jay White's one of the best performers in New Japan Pro Wrestling. And Okada got his 5th IWGP Heavyweight title victory at Madison Square Garden. So that's kind of historic for New Japan reasons. And I thought the match was cool, man. That show went as long as the main show for WrestleMania this year.
I was going to bring that up later. Thank you for bringing that up. The one thing that I wasn't ready for was it to go well towards midnight. I'll admit my daughter fell out. She couldn't make it to the end. She made it to the Marty match and was like, all right, I know what happened. I know what happened with Marty now. He's going to All Elite. See ya. She crashed. And she's a fan of I actually think she's a big Okada fan, to be honest. She's always talking about Okada. I just don't think she realizes it yet. But no, man, you know what? I thought this, I enjoyed this match too. Okada's so good. He's so smooth, man. And Jay White too. Like, I just don't want to sit here and sound too overly markish because I already did about Marty and some other things, and I'm going to about some other events over the weekend. So, but I'm a big Switchblade fan, and I thought on that stage, just being in the main event, just like with the Ring of Honor main event, just being in the main event, you've won, and that's I think what we fail to realize sometimes as fans is that the stage that you're on absolutely matters. Yes, sir.
You were asking me earlier, what was the hardest thing to transcribe over the weekend?
Correct.
I'll tell you right now, man, the easiest matches to transcribe are Okada matches or Randy Orton matches.
Right.
Like, everything this guy does is so smooth, man. It makes it really easy for me to follow along. Yep.
And probably the easiest entrance to transcribe is Marty Scurlls, because all you gotta do is put whoop whoop over and over again.
Thank God I don't have to transcribe entrances.
Now, obviously, that was a joke that was swinging and a miss with that one. All right, so now you said that your personal favorite match tonight was the Intercontinental Championship match for the IWGP Intercontinental Championship match.
Yes, Naito and Ibushi. Naito. That match went 25 minutes, I think.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah, somewhere around there. What was good think about that match?
I loved it. I'll admit, I don't watch New Japan on a regular basis, and again, time constraints, guys. It's but I didn't expect it to go about 25 minutes. Once I realized that was going 25 minutes, I think part of me was like, "Oh shit, this is gonna be a long night." But at the same time, it absolutely held. I mean, it held my interest. I was not complaining about it at all. It was more of oh my, this weekend's longer than what I thought it was going to be. Which was what I was saying the very next night again too. So, no, dude, it was a fantastic match. I thought that, again. I keep saying this, for the weekend, and listen, WWEshop.com, they not talking about cheap plugs. They always got really good deals on shirts and stuff like that. So able to get my daughter and I shirts for WrestleMania. Both got Becky Lynch shirts, different ones. And you're getting old, brother, when your priorities are indifferent. When the last couple wrestling shirts that you get, even though I've been buying mostly Marty stuff, AJ's buying all the shirts that I want. It's like, okay, she's got the Becky Lynch the man shirt. Then the other Becky Lynch shirt that I was going to get, I was like, oh, this one's cool. She gets that one. So of course you buy what your kid wants instead of you. But so I got the retro 80s, Zach Morris looking Becky Lynch shirt. But so we spent a little bit of money with WWE this weekend. We spent a little bit of money with Ring of Honor / New Japan this weekend.
Nice.
And that's when, again, the industry is good, right? Because putting a little bit of money into all their pockets. This is the one, again, it's like our Super Bowl. It's like our insert your event here, and I thought for me that shows that all the people that say the business is dead are extremely, extremely off with that one because, right. I don't right now.
Superstar Billy Graham.
Well, no, I'm not. Listen, I don't want to obviously call out any legends that have walked through the ropes and have sacrificed. You know, they have.
I'm sorry. I'm not. After Kofi Kingston this weekend, no.
Well, see, I don't know. Okay, so we'll get to that when we get to the Mania thing. But I will say that it's not typical for us to buy. These are, I don't want to say other promotions pay-per-views.
Right.
It really isn't. I just don't have the money for it. But I was definitely pleased with my purchase on Saturday night. I thought the matches were fantastic, and I wasn't one of those that sat there glued to the couch, just trying to stare into the abyss of a television and like waiting for the television to tell me how to feel and think. Like I said, I was getting other stuff done. I was cleaning. I was cooking. It was kind of like, it was on in the background. When you order a Mike Tyson fight, back in the day, you never ordered a Mike Tyson fight for the first 4 matches. You didn't care. I would go to parties with my parents, and everyone just be around drinking and doing this and that, whatever the case may be. You were watching it to see Mike Tyson knock somebody out. Admittedly, for me, I was buying this for Marty Scurll, and I was buying this for Jay White. And so for me, just the addition of Ibushi and Naito was a nice little toss in there too. So real quick, let me see where we're at time wise. We won't get deep into the Hall of Fame. Real quick, let me get your take on, did you see DX's induction? And I want your thoughts on the Bret Hart incident.
I'll start off with the Bret Hart incident really quick. Nimrod, get out of the way. The dude was like telling the police, like, oh, I just thought it was the right moment. Really? It's just the right moment to attack a legend like that for absolutely no reason. Yeah. I don't know why he was wearing a reggae hat, by the way. I don't know if you noticed that.
It was hard not to notice it. What I appreciated about that, Josh, was the old school street justice that this dude received. Good to see like Dash Wilder over there, Travis Scott, like seeing like a lot of it. Like Brent Corbin was one of the first guys over there. Yeah. Seeing that locker room really. I mean, and again, we always talk about it how this is probably, it's sometimes you can't. Don't hate the message. What's the best way of saying this? Don't hate talent because you hate the company itself, or because they're being positioned in a way you don't. I mean, these men and women right now, it seems like have one of the most close knit locker rooms that I can remember, and from a viewer standpoint, and it resonates on the television screen, and to see everybody come to Bret's aid like that and come to Natty's aid, and again, I'm not a fan of violence, but sometimes street justice is necessary when you bum rush a ring, tackle a man who's had, a stroke, who's not, all these things, all his elements over the years. If you're a true fan, I mean, that's, if you run on a football field, you're going to get thrown around by James Harrison. Google or YouTube it. It's fantastic. It happened in Cleveland. It's amazing. But that's one thing where I feel like he absolutely crossed the line. You don't attack as a fan. You stay in your seat.
The Travis Brown ground and pound attack.
Right.
Before the next game, that was fantastic.
Was it Dash Wilder? I think it was a Dash Wilder that caught him with a nice right hook, nice, solid. Oh, man.
Hey, he was playing it off like the fans were looking at him, too. So
and you know what? At that moment, we were all Dash Wilder. You know what I mean? Yeah. At that moment, FTR absolutely meant for the revival.
Yes.
All right, so
I thought Bret had some funny jokes though in his speech. That dude's a good storyteller.
Yeah.
For a guy that never had a personality, I guess. All right, DX. You're asking me about DX, right?
Yes, sir.
I really loved the speech. It was one of the best Hall of Fame speeches I've seen during these types of ceremonies. By the way, I liked the setup they had with the ring, and you had everybody around. A little something different.
Loved it, but obviously security was a little lacking for somebody to be able to run in. Yeah. But listen, live and learn. I appreciate this setup more than what they had before, because the biggest argument was what it's a black tie event. Fans just don't get it. Fans don't. This is for the fans as well, and I think this actually felt more inviting to this would be something that I would actually prefer to go to versus how the Hall of Fame used to be. So go ahead, Josh. I'm sorry.
I love the stuff with Chyna, getting to see her sister and her mom there while they were talking about her get her spotlight like that. And the nice little silhouette they had of her at the WrestleMania next night on the stage where they had that little Hall of Fame segment. I thought everything they did with Chyna was awesome and very fitting for her legacy. You saw the emotion for all the guys who were involved in that faction, and some of the current talent that actually did look up to China before they became wrestlers. So I thought that was cool. The AEW shots was fantastic. Triple H is the GOAT.
A little pissant company.
Shawn Michaels saying, we can always rely on you being all in.
There was a couple shots that you could tell where, like how he just kept saying, if I say my title enough, it sounds important. If I just keep saying it, it sounds important.
Everybody could put on the executive hat these days.
But you know what, though? In a strange way, I think there's a little layer of respect to that as well, because, if they he easily could have just not said anything at all, and which is in really WWE's best interest. He kind of created more of a buzz for AEW by referencing them, by everyone involved. It was going to be kind of hard not to with Billy Gunn there, though. I think
my favorite parts of the DX speech was the Fobo State of the Union address that they did towards the end, and also when Road Dogg and X-Pac talked about their families and the struggles they went through. Refining themselves personally. I thought that was really cool and emotional. And, you kind of see Triple H get to that point. And I know people are going to take Triple H's comments with a grain of salt because he's working with the company. He's part of the family now. But, when he does have his own time to be in the Hall of Fame, and he's more than deserving, so that's going to be a great speech as well whenever that happens. So I thought that was pretty cool. The DX speech is one of the best Hall of Fame speeches you'll ever see. And also go check out Harlem Heat's one. I thought they did a good job as well last week.
See, and I only really saw DX's, and I've always been a big Waltman fan, and I'll tell you what, man, his speech got me right in the feels, as they say. I thought it was excellent. When there's I always have appreciated and listened and heard everything Sean Waltman has said.
Right.
Not to go by one man's gospel, so to speak, but I think that he is brutally honest. He's very transparent about his own indiscretions, things have happened in his life, how he's overcome these obstacles, and that's a guy that I've always I always have said this. I used to watch him on 4-Star Wrestling as the Lightning Kid. You know what I mean? And then him going up to WWE as the 1-2-3 kid, and just how his career I always sort of followed him. Again, a small dude would like the smaller, quicker guys too, that knows how to talk shit. So, he was perfect. But I did, I will admit, I maybe teared up a little, during Waltman's spot. And one thing that I don't know that if people are saying this, but I'm assuming this because it's 2019 and the internet is the internet. For anybody to say that anybody there, including Triple H, was not being authentic in their statements and or emotions when they were speaking about China, you probably need to look in the mirror, because we have to. There's a lot of the story that we don't know. There's a lot of their history that we don't know. People forget that Triple H and China were in a relationship for a while. So, and granted that was 20 years ago, or whatever, but it was a very public one. It was a very it's not like. Pain from that kind of stuff can still linger, and not saying it's just digging up old skeletons, so to speak, is going to bring emotion out of anyone. So I think anytime it makes me laugh. It's like that laugh at my pain kind of scenario where it's the same thing when people are saying the whole Roman Reigns leukemia thing was a work, and they just made it up for it's just that drives me nuts because we need to start recognizing human emotion again, but. I thought with DX's speech all around entertaining, just engaging. I missed those kind of old road stories that they stopped telling for a while. They kind of brought some of those back in. They weren't really road stories, but they were more about just what they were trying to. I don't know. It seemed to get real. The speeches seemed to get real vanilla for a while. Unless it was Mr. T talking about his mama or Hillbilly Jim just not shutting the fuck up. But I really thought that this was that's a joke, man. I love Hillbilly Jim. But I really thought the DX's speech, and I guess it's easier when you got 5 guys up there. The one thing that I do, I wonder why wasn't Rick Rude included in that?
Yeah, that's a good question.
I don't know.
He was in the Hall of Fame a couple years ago in Orlando, right?
I don't know if Rude's in. Is Rude in? He is in?
Yes, because I saw his son do his promo in Orlando.
That's right. Okay.
Orlando Sweat Hogs. I was laughing my ass off.
That's right. Now, do you think it's a scenario where they just didn't want him to be in twice before other people got in twice?
Well, it also depends. Or were you going to bring – was Rude's family wanting to come in for his DX part of his life? I don't know.
Oh, good point. Yeah, that's also a good point, too. There's other variables that play C, and that's what we don't know when we're at home complaining all the time while we talk it out on this show.
Right.
Only on the Hoots podcast.
I got to say this, though, before we go to Mania. Yeah. My great uncle from my mom's side of the family, Mark, looks exactly like Jimmy Hart without the hair.
That's frightening. I saw enough of Jimmy Hart on this show called Dark Side of the Ring last night that, well, if time permits, we're going to talk about. But
yeah, so Hall of Fame was cool, man. As far as future inductees and stuff, before you know, The Rock will be in there. I think Batista's definitely going in next year, but I thought it was cool. One of my favorite parts of the Hall of Fame was when Booker T was like, "Hey, Kofi Kingston's going to whoop Daniel Bryan's ass," and Bryan's just standing up looking at him, just disappointed. What the hell, Book? I was in your top 5 or Fave 5, or the thing Booker had back then.
His Fave 5. Yeah, it was he always had his Fave 5. See, I'll have to go back and watch some of those ceremonies. Like I said, there was so much wrestling to watch this weekend.
Yes, there was.
And there was, and again, life and when you have a career and stuff, there was just not enough time. Actually been living on coffee and caffeine for the past week. It's horrible. Yeah. So, all right, let's get to the main event, WrestleMania 35. East Rutherford, New Jersey, in the shadows of New York City. There, just to make everybody happy there at home. First ever WrestleMania headlined by a women's match. Finally, 35 years in the making. Timing absolutely perfect. We had, I think there was how many title changes were there total? 7
title changes at WrestleMania.
So we had 7 title changes, and we had the top 3, arguably, if you want to look at them that way, baby faces: Seth Rollins, Kofi Kingston,
right,
and Becky Lynch. All take home the respective titles that they were wrestling for and dethrone the current champion. This was a rare WrestleMania where the fans really did get what they wanted out of almost every single match, with the exception of maybe the Shane McMahon match that I called.
I did.
It's easy, Shane. And I think what's the other? There was only one other babyface, quote unquote. I mean, if you want to look at it that way, that didn't win. But Josh, I want to save the main event for a little bit last. What are some things that jumped out at you from WrestleMania itself? We don't really have to dissect every match. We can talk I like this, I like that, but just talk about a couple things that jumped out to you.
I thought the match that surprised me the most, that got the crowd invested in, was the SmackDown Tag Title match, especially that part where Cesaro and Sheamus were doing the swing and the beats of the chest. Did you see that part where the crowd are all standing on their feet and how many rotations Cesaro did?
Listen, he swung Ricochet for a minute and a half. It was insane.
It was awesome. I really enjoyed that match. The stuff with Seth Rollins and Brock Lesnar was awesome. We can get into that later on.
Yep.
Other things that stood out to me, I really enjoyed the AJ Styles Randy Orton match. I said that was the match I was looking forward to last week, and I thought they delivered. I know there was some scuttlebutt because the light inside MetLife Stadium got in the way for some people seeing the match, which is unfortunate.
When we went through Extreme Rules in Pittsburgh this year, we left with the biggest headache and couldn't see anything because it's light.
Right. But I don't know how you felt about that match. I really liked Randy Orton and AJ Styles. Let's see, what else stood out to me?
I know AJ Styles' hair. He's got really flowy hair. That's what I know. As a man with flowy hair, I respect AJ Styles' equally flowy hair. It was a thing of beauty. Women would kill for that hair. AJ, do your thing.
The blind tag that Billie Kay did before the Iconics won the women's tag team titles was so smooth, especially after Beth Phoenix did that glance slam off the top rope. That was fantastic.
Really happy to see the Iconics win the championships too.
I thought Roman and Drew was decent. And then other stuff that stood out to me, I really loved the entrance for the Demon. Just seeing that late at night and the entrance, I thought that was cool. And then other matches that stood out to me was definitely Shane McMahon and The Miz. They beat the ever-loving crap out of each other. And getting to see George go in the ring and do his little fighting stance, I thought it was awesome.
Now, do you think, before I get to some of my favorite moments, this is something I kind of asked you about the other night, and then I was like, you know what, we'll wait till the show.
Okay.
I felt like, and this could just be me just, overlooking things, but I felt like in a way Balor's Demon entrance was a little abbreviated and they just cut a little bit off at the beginning and kind of maybe rushed him a little more to the ring. And I felt like, I don't know, just something felt rushed about the entrances with the women's main event too. So I guess my question is, and this is not complaints, just more of an observation for a question of, do you think that there were matches and segments that were working so well, they did run a little long? They were kind of going pretty heavy, and they kind of were looking for ways to just snap even fragments, seconds, if they, 30 seconds if they could here and there, just to extend for the women's main event a little bit.
One thing that I think people kind of overlook is the length of the video packages. And while I love what WWE does for their video packaging for all their shows, and I think they do a fantastic job, some video packages don't have to be 5 minutes each for every marquee match.
Right.
And that happens a lot on these big shows, and that's something maybe not a lot of people notice because they're either getting something to eat, they're talking about the last match, or seeing what people are talking about on social media, and maybe that goes over your head. You're not realizing that's taking time away from what's happening on the show. Like, I would have scrapped the Hogan part of Alexa Bliss's intro. That's just my opinion.
My opinion, yeah, you don't want my opinion on it. I would have scrapped it.
I'll say this though, as far as like Triple H and Batista is concerned, for me, I was gonna be into it either way because this is a big part of me growing up as a wrestling fan. That rivalry and Batista in general as a character, I felt like this whole storyline, this whole build was for everything Batista wanted to do to end his career, and he got what he wanted. Was the match? Could you took like 5 or 6 minutes off the match? Sure, but everything. I thought it was like quintessential what a Batista match would have been at a WrestleMania with Triple H. Ring steps, shots. The stuff with Triple H ripping off Batista's nose ring was awesome.
That was rough to watch.
Yeah, it was. I thought it was cool. And then having the ending part with Ric Flair coming out with the sledgehammer and stuff, I thought it was a nice touch as well. So, I'm not surprised because going to your point with this, when it comes to like time and things are going overlapping, a lot of Triple H matches go over than what's supposed to be, especially with the special entrances he has for these shows. And I remember there was a show a couple years ago, Triple H and Seth Rollins went over, and they had to rush some other matches that were on that show as well. They rushed Goldberg and Brock because of the length of the Triple H Seth Rollins match. So it's a trend that I noticed, but it didn't affect me as I was watching the show.
I thought Goldberg and Brock just got trimmed down because nobody wanted to see Goldberg and Brock. But hey, listen, one thing I wanted to put with the Batista thing, apparently something when he was screaming, "Give me what I want!" One thing he did not want to do was tan, because this is the least tan I've ever seen Dave Batista. Yeah. Like, he is usually like golden bronze, like shoe leather, and listen, that's what they do. I'm not knocking it, that was kind of like in the match, it was a red flag. Like, it was like, oh, okay, he's losing. You could tell that he was just kind of, I don't want to say he was there for the paycheck. I don't want to say that, guys. He was there to entertain us, but maybe Hart into it.
He looked burnt when he quit the last time, when he did that, like, hello, like that wave goodbye promo. Yeah. Like, talk about tans, he like super burnt.
Right, yeah, right. Usually Batista's on well done. He was on like medium rare this time. It was pretty weird. Here's some things that stood out to me. Super pumped that they started the show with Rollins and Lesnar. I totally popped for the Rollins. Like I said, I would pop for when Rollins won. Loved that he got to the top and was swinging the title around as per Seth Rollins' usual, and as he should do. Unpopular opinion that some of you aren't going to like. I love that Baron Corbin went over Kurt Angle.
Me
I
too.
loved it. I loved it. I thought that, like I kept saying, you want to add legitimacy to Baron Corbin's character, and even him just being in the match again adds legitimacy. But that was their chance to really make him, into that mega heel bad guy, whatever, whatever you want to make him out to be. I think that's a nice feather in the cap for Baron Corbin. He's earned it. And again, you see the rapport he has with the rest of the locker room just with the whole Bret Hart thing. So I feel it was, as much as the fans don't like it, there's a reason why he was handpicked or whatever, from whomever. And I really dug it. So I was really happy for Baron Corbin. We're going to wait to talk about the main event. This is going to be, this is why 2019 is the year of legit. I mean, I said this a couple years ago, but I think this is like my redesign, rebuild, reclaim year, because life is so strange in 2019 that I'm popping for the Doctor of Thugonomics after Elias is giving a fantastic Elias performance. I mean, he's playing every instrument known to man. No, dude, but I popped for Cena. Totally popped for Cena as soon as the music hit. It just was hanging on every single word. Shane, like you said, Shane, Miz, fantastic, and again with another crazy Shane spot. I'm trying to think of some other like instant pool ways.
I have one.
And go ahead.
I have one from the pre-show I wanted to mention. Buddy Murphy and Tony Nese tore the house down. I thought that match was sick. But go ahead.
And from the pre-show as well, actually, see, the Michael Che, Colin Joe stuff wasn't as bad as what you guys thought it would be, would it?
Yeah. The Cleveland OBJ jersey,
it was so good. And you know what? And here I am. This is how you start to know that, like, you're getting to of a certain age where, they always tell the joke, your brain's like it's like a glass. You start overfilling it and like information flows out when it doesn't matter anymore, right?
Right.
I'm sitting there, I'm like, I'm just sitting there like, why is he wearing a Brown jersey just laughing? And my 9-year-old daughter goes, "What's Odell Beckham Jr.?" And I went, oh, like totally forgot about him going over there. Should have kicked in with a number 13 on it, as I am a big number 13 guy. But it didn't even click in. But meanwhile, my 9-year-old who's just getting into football was like, oh, yeah, it's ODB. And I'm like, yeah, okay. Now it finally makes sense. I liked how ridiculous their tights were. And again, what do we want out of this battle royal? It's an attraction, Right. I just heard Chris Jericho doing an interview on. I really want to give them credit for who it was. I think it was Between the Ropes, maybe. What was it? Maybe it was Busted Open Radio. Maybe it was Busted Open. Maybe it was Between the Ropes. I don't know. But he was talking about how some things about his. What was it? Inside the Ropes. I'm sorry. It was Inside the Ropes. There we go. Again, my 9-year-old mark of a daughter knows.
UK Outlet. I met that dude in New Orleans. Very cool dude.
Yeah, fantastic. Jericho was talking about how, Vince McMahon does see WrestleMania matches as, here's our main matches, here's our attraction matches, here's our kind of, as I hate to say, filler matches,
Right.
And this is an attraction match. We knew that. This wasn't for the NXT fan. And this is where we have to kind of like go at that. So I still thought it was entertaining. I thought there was a lot of humor in it. I thought that there were some good spots. And I love that Kurt Hawkins and Zack Ryder won the tag titles. It's something, as soon as they announced the match, I went, oh, it's over. It's hometown boys. There they go. Streak is over. The streaks end at WrestleMania, ladies and gentlemen.
Every streak ends.
I'm trying to see what I'm missing from Mania, because I want to talk about give Ambrose a quick shout out, but that's after the fact, Carmelo was great. Yeah. I love seeing Carmelo in that too. I'm trying to think of some other quick takeaways. I guess, without getting to the main event, those are my takeaways. And again, the Balor match and I think the Angle match was, the Angle Corbin match and Balor Lashley was what we thought we were going to get, right? Short, quick, like kind of not filler by any stretch of the imagination, but we knew they weren't going to go long, I think,
Right.
So
I'll say one of my favorite spots for the show was where Miz did that punch and Shane lunged over that golf cart. I thought he broke his neck when he fell on the ground like that.
Right. And they are beating the best in the world mantra into the ground, aren't they? I don't think I said that with enough bass. You got to say it with your chest. I'm sorry. I know. I'm sorry, Shane. That wasn't WrestleMania. That's like I'm not in full gear shape and I'm not in WrestleMania voice shape. I got to get that. Got to get that going.
That was warranted CM Punk chants.
Yeah, on SmackDown. Those were asked for. There was some antagonization going on there. People were being antagonized. So, all right, let's get to the main event. We had Raw Women's Champion Ronda Rousey. We had SmackDown Women's Champion Charlotte Flair, and then we had the 2019 Royal Rumble winner Becky Lynch, the man, coming in. There was an absolute fan favorite. Becky Lynch comes home as Becky Two Belts. She's the double champion. Josh, your thoughts on the match, the fallout, crowd reaction, internet response? Give me the gusto on this one. Okay,
so first thing before we get to the match, Charlotte recreating the Great American Bash entrance that her father did 30 years ago was fantastic.
Down in Concord, North Carolina. They'll say Charlotte, but it was a Concord. Yes, it all comes full circle. Woo!
I thought that was awesome. Joan Jett still can rock out at her age, so I thought that was pretty cool. As far as the match is concerned, I thought it was really cool. I don't know if it would have made it better or not, or whatever, but just with both titles being on the line and this and that, I thought it'd be cool if it was an elimination match. But as far as the match is concerned, I thought it was really cool. The stuff with like Ronda countering with step up knee strikes, or Charlotte like dishing out 20 boots. Like she did a big boot like every other part of the match. That was kind of hard to transcribe. I thought Becky played her role well, and it was a barn burner match. You had weapons in there. I kind of felt bad when they tried to do that double hip toss into the table and it didn't break. I hate when that happens. Like they did that with Charlotte and Sasha in their Hell in a Cell match, and that didn't work out as well too. So I'm not saying that was a bad thing. I loved the match. The moment was special. I thought the crowd played their part into it. As far as the controversy with the finishes stuff was, it really didn't bother me because she was just being smart. You know, Ronda is doing that angle slam type of move, and you're just doing a crucifix counter.
Crucifix pin. Let me ask you a question. How did Steamboat beat Savage at WrestleMania 3?
Roll up, small package.
And we consider that one of, if not the greatest WrestleMania match of all time, don't we?
That's a cheap finish, Adam.
I mean, you know, and again, it's about perspective, I guess. Now,
is it a cheap finish because it wasn't the finish that you wanted?
Yeah, it's someone's opinion, because I have an opinion about the finish. It's absolutely not a cheap finish, and then I'll give my opinion on why I don't think that. But I do want to start with the entrances. Yes, I love the fact that Charlotte paid homage to her dad. That's the first thing. As soon as the helicopter started and I caught what they were doing, I actually started popping at the party we were at. They thought I was crazy. And I'm like, no, you don't get it. They're doing it's Flair. It's Charlotte Racetrack. It's in Concord. They're replaying it. And then I started, oh shit, she's winning the title. That's the first thing I thought, you know. She had the over the top entrance. You have Ronda, who also had the over the top entrance. Not over the top, but she had the live band with Joan Jett playing her in, which was awesome, by the way. And then I know a lot of people are saying, well, why didn't Becky have an over-the-top entrance? I would actually disagree with that. I was thinking about it.
Does Kill Bill need an entrance?
Well, you know what? Her over-the-top entrance was the crowd. It was the fans. You know, the fans were, you know, her music hitting. Think about how basic and just you know, her background is now with the black background, the man just in white. Like it's clean, it's sharp, there's nothing fancy there. It's not over glorified. Right. It's just her coming out to 80,000 people pop. I mean, to me, that is just as over the top. Sure, there might not have been the theatrics, there might have been the live band, but you're getting 80,000 people that are your live band, you know? So I think if you look at it a different way, each woman had a fantastic entrance in their own way to really set up a fantastic match. Now and again, I thought the match was great, just like you did. The finish surprised me, but in a good way. And here's my reasoning behind this. we're sitting here watching it, listening, and it's late, and you know, my daughter fortunately didn't have school until like later in the day, the next day, so it was like she got to stay up and watch it, but she was starting to get gassed, and this is the match she's been waiting for months and months and months, you know. So I'll admit, you know, this, not that it ran long for most of us, but I could see from a certain demographic how it ran long. But when it like the finish happened, like I shouldn't say that. The Becky match came on, all of a sudden she went from almost being half asleep to Becky came out and she was just sitting up straight and everything was like she just got second bolt energy. Yeah. But whenever the finish happened, we both kind of stopped and I was like, oh my God, she pinned her. Like it was one of those stunning, like it was like Lesnar and Undertaker. Like you had to be there. Like you had to experience it in the moment to really feel that disbelief of, wait, what just happened? Was it supposed to happen? Was there, you know, what, you know, to people, to the argument of, it was a cheap finish. This is professional wrestling, right? This is still, people want the wrestling side in it. When you get a wrestling finish, you complain. Yeah. When you get the sports entertainment finish, you love it. Although you hate sports entertainment because it's not real pro wrestling. Right. You get the pro wrestling. You know how many matches Ric Flair, Ricky Steamboat, you know, you name it. Mr. Bret Hart. I mean, they've won with roll-ups, with crucifixes. With Mr. Perfect's finisher was nothing more than a fisherman suplex with a bridge, a pinning fisherman suplex. Right. Which now is looked at more of as, which should, by the way, be respected a lot more because it was absolutely perfect. Neither here nor there. But what I loved about the finish and why I loved that Becky, regardless of, you know, I know some fans are mad that Ronda didn't tap for whatever reason, or who pulled, or whose decision it was or wasn't. And, you know, ultimately I don't care about any of that. Yeah. Here's why I like the finish. I like the finish because this isn't a UFC fight. This is sports entertainment. This is professional wrestling. We didn't get a submission finish like you would in MMA. And people say, oh, well, Becky's finisher wouldn't be used in MMA. It was like 3 weeks ago. Somebody tapped somebody out with it. But we got a pro wrestling surprise style finish that's just like just a knockout that you seek, not coming from a mile away. You know, it's just because we didn't get the submission that we expected, and it was more of a surprise than anything else. I think it was the longevity of the night, Josh, that there wasn't that big setup for a finale. You know how a lot of times you can really feel the finish coming, the crowd starts buzzing, because it was just like snap. You know, it was just so in the moment. I feel like maybe just some people were more shocked, and then it sunk in. That's why you didn't get that initial pop. But as far as the finish goes, I actually, having a couple days to digest it, think about it, and like really look back on it, I preferred it. One, for the shock value, and two, because, you know, they beat Ronda Rousey with a wrestling move, a business that she's been doing nothing, whether it kayfabe or not. She's been bashing, you know, the wrestling fake, nobody can beat me side of things for a while. That's been her mantra. That's been her character, her gimmick, whether it's real or kayfabe. Who cares? That's what they've been running with. And then she loses via a professional wrestling move. So I thought that is the story that needed to be told. That was a story that should have been told. And I am so thankful, as a fan, you know, from a fan standpoint, that they put that on. They put both titles on Becky Lynch. You know, markishness aside, she was my favorite out of the Horsewomen when they came up. I always thought, you know, I was one of those that always compared her to Edge. Just the entrance, the steampunk, the everything, the more rock and roll energy, high energy kind of style entrance. So for her to, you know, once her opportunity came, for her to be able to not only run with it, but I think supersede any expectations that anybody, except for her, probably had set for her, and Dusty Rhodes, because Dusty Rhodes did say one day she was going to be at the top of the division, and I think that when it's all said and done, I'm going to get your opinion on this, Josh. This isn't in the moment thinking either, because I've been thinking about this over the past couple of days. This was from a personal standpoint, one of the most pleasing WrestleManias I can remember in my lifetime. And that's just personally speaking. I'm not speaking for anybody else, but as a fan and in the characters that I enjoy and the styles of wrestling and the styles of entertainment and the styles of what I like, WWE, all the different facets of WWE that I like, I felt like this was one of the most complete WrestleManias. I truly.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And part of me feels bad that I wasn't able to have more of that fan like moment, while the show's going on because I was so like fixated and trying to make sure I got everything right as far as the article is concerned. And I kind of felt bad about that in some ways after certain big matches and stuff. Like only like a few moments I'd be like shocked like everybody else was, like when Miz did the suplex off the camera platform, or the stuff with Batista and Triple H like I mentioned earlier. Like watching the show back the other day at the shop while I had some downtime, like it was cool, man. Everything the hardcore fans wanted, they got it. They want the Iconics to win, they won. They wanted Kofi Kingston to win. They did. Kofi Kingston and Dan Bryan had one of the best WWE title matches at WrestleMania history, in my point of view. The atmosphere during that match was fantastic. I thought it was really, really cool. There wasn't any part of the show where I felt myself having fatigue from covering the show live. It kept me on my toes, man, and I really enjoyed it. It was a really, really cool show. The stuff with the stage, some people are like, "Oh, the stage is lazy" or whatever. Hey, man, you build a 100-yard Titan Trotter. Come up with a better thing you can.
Yeah, I liked it. It was awesome. You know, I actually didn't get to talk about Kofi, man. And real quick, let me slip this in before we try and get Raw and SmackDown. Then bring my daughter in for AJ's spot for through the as of a 9-year-old. But dude, Kofi's match was another one. Even the Iconics in a weird way, just because you could tell like how much it meant to them. But realistically, Kofi's match was. It hit me emotionally in a bunch of different ways. Just for obviously happiness for Kofi, probably should have been done a long time ago, but not just and again the debate's always going to be who's the first black, this, that, the other thing. Just all of that aside, and whether the timing is late or whatever, right? To not only see them in the moment, but then you see videos of other not only wrestlers that are still wrestling on the indie circuit or still trying to make it, or guys that have men and women that have been there and were never able to crack that glass ceiling because of maybe some obstacles that were in place at the time or whatever, and see how emotional they were getting. I thought that this was very just this. When you see the fallout from it and you see, again, that human emotion and reaction, you know there's more to the story than what we may know. And as a white cisgender male, I will never understand what it's like to be a black man or woman in this country or in the world. And I will never understand, what it is like to, so I would not understand in the wrestling industry the repression of for gender and or color. Right. But I do know what I can only hear the stories and that my friends have told me and have seen the experiences while being with my friends that are either in the business or fans of the business that are black or that are black or female or transgender or whatever. And I do know that like my buddy, I always talk about Roy Johnson over in the UK. I'm telling you, he's gonna be big time. You're gonna know his name one day. I know that Kofi's win absolutely made a difference in his career. And I think when we take ourselves out of it for a minute and look at it through other people's eyes, you truly see how much that moment meant. And that's why, this Mania had so many special moments. Like, again, women main eventing, it's such an important, that's why I said, last week I said this ultimately could be the most important, WrestleMania match in history. And for everyone that was complaining about, and I wrote this, joke down, if you're still complaining about either the ending of the WrestleMania match or that the women finished or that the show ran long, just remember, this could be like in the olden days, and we would have had Mojo Rawley and Gronk versus Lex Luger's Mirror and Bob Kraft's attorney. So, because Vince would have booked it, and we would have been forced to watch it, and it would have been a main event, just like Lawrence Taylor, Mark Bavaro, and the rest of the New York Giants from that one year.
And trust me, there was semi main event of WrestleMania matches where you had Rikishi and Kane against the New Age Outlaws. Yeah, I mean, we've seen a lot of bad WrestleMania matches being what we had this year.
I just feel now that we see, how much not only, the man has transcended just wrestling, but now, you have Rollins too calling him, he's now the man again too. And you see how it's still being portrayed and how people still don't get that the man is such a genderless, such a genderless title. I think that if you're still complaining that women main evented, you're just you have to get over your chauvinism. That's all.
I forgot to mention this. the other night, WWE put out a new job listing for continuity writer. For anybody who wants to be part of continuity and think they can find out all the logic holes for all the wrestling shows, that good old fashioned WWE logic that everybody likes to whine about, right? This is another drill, like I mentioned before. Put your money where your mouth is.
Get your resumes out.
Get them out, man. Send them out.
Get your resumes out. See, there you go, Marks. Apply. I should apply. The last thing any of you want is me writing Monday Night Raw or SmackDown.
I think the intro promo for this week's podcast is definitely going to make you want to get your resumes out.
Right. Now, real quick, before we get to Raw and SmackDown, let me mute my mic real quick. I'm going to bring in, I'm just hopefully going to talk loud enough so that she might be able to hear me. We're going to bring in the star of the show for the eyes, through the eyes of a 9-year-old segment. We'll base this one around WrestleMania. So, here she is, the real star of this show. Got a little bronchitis, so you might hear a little coughing going on. But AJ, welcome. AJ Daley, 9-year-old podcasting superstar that's
Hola.
Hola. So,
thank you very much.
Now,
I'm very happy to be here.
Now, since I'm hosting this week, I get to kind of bounce some questions off you guys.
Yes.
And we were just in here talking about WrestleMania, talking about
I heard.
all the weekend. And let's just focus on WrestleMania though, because I know that was the show that you were most interested in. What did you think about WrestleMania this year?
This year was probably one of the best WrestleManias I've seen in my lifetime.
In your all 9 years of your life?
I've watched very many WrestleManias.
That is true.
I've actually watched ones that aren't even in my lifetime, believe it or not.
That's true.
So,
You've gone back and watched them.
Yes.
You're dangerous with the WWE network now.
Yes, I am.
So
very dangerous.
What were some of your favorite points? And you don't have, and don't worry if you want to start with Becky, start with Becky. But what were some of your favorite parts of the night?
Well, obviously Becky winning.
Okay.
So I guess you already guessed that one. Another one of my favorites was probably whenever Kofi won.
Okay.
And then,
talk to me about that. Why did you like seeing Kofi win? Because I know you're a really big Daniel Bryan fan. You love his character right now, and I know you're a big fan of the New Day. You love Kofi, Biggie, Woods. I know you're big fans of those. So why was that one of your, for you to bring that out second after Becky? That this must have meant a lot to you. Talk to us about it.
Well, I also think that Kofi, he really deserved it after the 11 years that he was in there, never got a big title like that.
Right.
He really deserved it. I also like seeing all the other people that were getting emotional about it, and
some of the videos I showed you.
Yeah, and stuff, and how Biggie and Xavier Woods were getting emotional, and his kids were getting on the top ropes and everything.
You really enjoyed that. Yeah. Yeah, and I
feel like his one kid is going to be a wrestler one day, but that's neither here nor there.
And you know what? I also feel like, and Josh, you'll appreciate this one, because everyone that knows my daughter, that the 10 of you that are on my Instagram,
yes,
know that she likes to keep her the perfect 10, that she likes to keep her hair short, and I know she wants to get a little pattern design in it. And Kofi, I don't know, your son might be inspiring my daughter here, because she was really digging the stars in the side of your son's hair. So I don't know. Well, so I have a feeling that there's going to be some designs in her hair pretty soon.
Well, I've always wanted designs in my hair, so.
Oh, again, I guess it's happening soon. All right, so we got we got Becky, we got Kofi. What else do you like?
I liked the men's battle royal.
You did?
Yes.
Talk to us about it, because a lot of wrestling fans did not.
I loved the Colin Jost and Michael Che. I was about to mix up their names. Colin Che and Michael.
You were definitely doing that the other day.
Yes, definitely. I don't know why, but it's been happening. I do not know why, but I really enjoyed that.
Okay. So you like that. What else?
I also really enjoyed, because I actually called it, I enjoyed that they were going under the ring.
Oh, okay.
Because I called it.
Much, yeah.
Yeah, because I called that one.
Now, is there anything about WrestleMania, because, we always hear adults, they go straight for the critique. They go straight for what they didn't like. That's why we always say, hey, what did you like about it? But I always like to ask, is there anything that you didn't like or might have changed about WrestleMania?
Well, what I would change about WrestleMania would probably be that I can't remember because I can really already remember the ones that I really, really liked.
You were having too much fun eating chicken wings at this point. You were like out of the eating wings I just kept looking around like, where are you at? It's Randy Orton versus AJ Styles. Cool, I'm getting some wings. Like, all right,
wait,
you are a mark already.
Who won Randy Orton versus
Styles won.
Okay, good. I was about to say, if Randy Orton won, I would definitely have changed that one. But really, for me, no negativity that night.
Now, see, well, in a way, though, you kind of watched it how a wrestling fan might have to watch it, right? You really weren't glued to the television all night. You got up, you were talking to the neighbors, you were eating some chicken wings, you were eating more chicken wings, you were eating more chicken wings.
I was eating a pretzel salad, as they called it.
So much pie. Thought you were The Rock for a second. So, Josh, let's see. What do you have, good sir? You have any questions for the 9-year-old, the rated G superstar?
Yeah.
Is that G or TV or PG? The rated PG superstar.
It can be G or PG, whatever.
Well, PG is better because I think you're older than G at this point, right?
Yeah.
Before you know, it'll be PG-13. Watch out; these years are going by fast.
Yeah. Slow down, kid. Pump the brakes, kid.
One thing I wanted to mention really quick from the Kofi stuff, they had that watch along with Pat McAfee, and they had the Street Profits. Some of the other African-American performers from NXT back there reacting to Kofi Kingston winning the title. And Johnny Gargano's back there, too, watching that match, too. So all of them are watching the show with Pat McAfee in the backstage area and seeing the emotion from their face was awesome. Getting to see that. And they got this cool video on Instagram with Shad from Crime Time and MVP watching WrestleMania at a bar, and they're crying to see Kofi win the title. I thought that was pretty dope.
Yeah, I saw that. Because MVP, I always talk about Roy. MVP is there's a running joke that's if you guys follow the Black Wrestling Alliance on Instagram, there's a running joke with MVP and my boy Roy. It's between them and the internet jokes. I'll let that all play out. That's for you guys to find.
All right, I got it.
All right, go ahead, Josh.
All right, Miss AJ, my question for you is, do you have any one or multiple favorite entrances from WrestleMania this past Sunday?
Oh, one of my favorite entrances was Charlotte and Ronda's, because I did like both of those. Mm-hmm. Let me think. I also really like, this is gonna sound pretty dumb, but I also really liked Colin Jost and Michael Che's entrance. I think it was amazing. It was awesome.
Them walking down with nobody in the crowd.
Exactly. I mean, It's just awesome.
So one thing, let me ask actually this question, because some of the adults we were with were the old this is what I appreciate about the party we were at. We kind of had a variety of wrestling fans in there, and a couple of them were the older jaded fan that is just over certain things, Right. And they were kind of they weren't really big into the Triple H Mad Max Fury Road entrance. What did you think of the Fury Road entrance?
I really liked the Fury Road entrance because of how yes, I didn't really like the video package too much, but I liked the actual entrance itself, where he came out with the big truck or a car, whatever it was. Yeah, it was like a truck. Jeep type thing, whatever. Right. It was probably a Jeep. They covered up the logos. It's fine.
You are turning into a little Mark.
But yeah.
So you think maybe they went overly theatrical with it?
Yeah,
I loved it.
If they changed the video package a little bit, I think it was very cheesy, and I would definitely change the video package.
And if I was Triple H, I'd be doing that stuff too. Every one of my favorite movies would be my video package for like my WrestleMania matches. You'd be seeing me in just the most ridiculous entrances possible, and his are all so wicked. I liked it.
Me too, but I just
no. That's the criticism. Yeah, but I did like the video entrance. You didn't, and that's good. But see, that's better than just people going, "Oh, it just sucked because that sucked," which is the typical response. Because if you guys didn't get a chance. Kevin Hart was recently on the Joe Rogan Experience, and Kevin Hart talks about this, and it is, and Josh, we've talked about this so many times. It's to a point where you can't disagree anymore without just being like, cool, you didn't like it, I did, oh, that's cool, and you just keep moving on. Like he references like Titanic. There always got to be one person in the room that's the contrarian, just to be the contrarian, and then it kind of balloons out from there. This was nice. See, that was a logical response, because normally if you ask people, well, then why didn't you like it? They go, well, I just didn't like it. It's just Triple H. Well, but what do you mean that's just Triple H? Well, because you just got Triple H, always got to do Triple H stuff. Well, what does that mean?
Yeah.
And any chuckles from Batista tripping during his entrance?
Yes.
Yeah. I was gonna say.
By the way, I love Big Dave. I love the little entrance they had in the beginning part of it. I felt bad for him though when he tripped.
I'm a Big Dave fan as well. But yeah, like him and Sami Zayn, it was like slip inside WrestleMania weekend.
Yeah, it was. Sami Zayn was tripping on Raw and SmackDown. It was like, why trip?
Adam, you gotta show AJ some time. Xavier Woods singing Batista's entrance song. It's hilarious.
Yeah, we'll have to get to that. But so as we wrap up WrestleMania, because we're about to run thin on time, AJ, is there anything else you'd like to say about this year's Mania? What else wrestling wise this weekend did you like? I mean, because we watched a ton of wrestling. Anything you'd like to add on before you go?
Yes, I like that Elias said, because this was very much foreshadowing, he said the next person to interrupt me will be a dead man. And literally, it was a dead man.
Yep.
Elias didn't make him more dead at all. I think that he just made him more alive, in fact. I don't know.
Can you make somebody more dead, though? I mean, I think...
Yeah, you can make the dead man Undertaker more dead by, like, literally actually making him dead. Like, literally killing him.
I don't know. That wouldn't be a good corporate look for WWE,
but
though, right?
At least he did not ruin WrestleMania, because he is at almost every single WrestleMania ever.
That is one thing you appreciated. You actually enjoyed him showing up on Raw, and that's how we'll segue into the next segment where we got time.
Because Raw is smaller than a pay-per-view, so I appreciated it.
Yeah, it was almost like it felt like you still liked the fact that he was there for WrestleMania weekend. You just didn't want him involved with WrestleMania at all.
At all.
Now, let me ask you this one last question before you go. Would you have traded Undertaker on WrestleMania if we could have got rid of Hulk Hogan?
Well, I did like how they did it because of Alexa Bliss.
Of course, you and Alexa Bliss. Of course. All right. Yeah, fair enough. Okay.
So I would switch it out, but I don't think that they would have been able to do that with Alexa Bliss, because Dead Man, Alexa Bliss, it makes no sense.
Yeah. You're right with that. So you wanted your Alexa Bliss moment. Okay. And you and all the rest of us wanted that moment as well.
Alexa Bliss as well. So that's good for Alexa.
True. Yeah, that's true. That is true. Being on there with Hulk Hogan, regardless of anybody's personal feelings, that's a big moment for her as well, especially with Paul Heyman, coming through. And now we kind of know why Paul Heyman has been interrupting her a little bit as of late, too. So, AJ, thank you for your WrestleMania input.
Thank you.
And then go ahead. I'm sure you got a catchphrase.
Okay. Hashtag always watch my ending. Make sure you hashtag that one.
You are going to want to change that.
That's a hashtag.
We got to copyright it.
I just have a feeling you might want to change that for just for purposes. All right, scram, kid. Back to TV 14.
You scram.
All right, Josh. So now, all right, guys, that was through the eyes of a 9-year-old. And man, when she's older, she's going to realize why that signature, the sign off, was probably not in her best interest. But it's going to be great calling later on. Now, so real quick, we only got a couple minutes here. Let's do a breeze through a Raw and SmackDown. Okay. Josh, a couple things that stood out to you.
Really quick, she made a fantastic point a couple seconds ago about The Undertaker showed up on Raw. It's a WrestleMania week. So, a lot of people are like, why didn't we get the Usos against the Hardys at WrestleMania? They had it on SmackDown. Wrapping up the whole, you need to save those special type of things for all the events that are going on. Hell, Lars Sullivan showed up on Raw on Monday. The stuff he did with Kurt Angle, I thought that was cool. What else stood out to me? The Bobby Roode and Chad Gable turning heel, I wasn't surprised by that. Nice choice for them to go a different direction. We were setting up this preview for the Superstar Shakeup, which is going to be happening next week out in Canada, Speaking of Canada, I got witness to my favorite promo of the year so far. from Sami Zayn. And, you know, I got to give shout out to B-Rob and Brother Carter because they always bust my chops for saying that I hate Sami Zayn's theme song, which I do. But I love Sami Zayn, the character and the wrestler. I just can't stand his theme song. It's like teachers trying to get you excited for the ACTs or something school related. I just can't stand it.
You don't know how to skank, man. That's why. You just can't skank along to it. That's all.
No, I can't. You're right. You got that.
I like it. I'm not gonna lie, but yeah.
But anyways, if you haven't heard Sami Zayn's promo, go watch it. And maybe you realize that maybe your ugliness doesn't always have to be broadcasted out on social media every week. That's a little tip for everybody this week. And anything else that stood out from Raw this week, I really enjoyed getting to see Alexa Bliss back in the ring this week. So that really stood out to me on Raw because she's one of my favorites. She's one of the best, if not one of the top marquee female performers on both Raw and SmackDown. And it was nice to see her back in the ring. Go ahead, brother.
Let me take it off mute there. So we got, for me, I actually like the quick little surprises we had. Like on SmackDown, you had that RKO real quick. Then next thing you know, Owens is in the ring with that stunner. And then they instantly both just walking out of the ring. I enjoyed Lacey Evans a couple of, and I'll admit I'm still hesitant on the Lacey Evans character, but I think that's a good thing though, right? Because I'm not indifferent on her. I'm kind of intrigued on where they're going with her. I think that Drew McIntyre, as soon as the bar came out and they're like, we found someone, they're just like, oh no, this is going to be McIntyre. And that's a frightening trio to try and deal with. But I think they might already be teasing some of the Superstar Shakeup. I love how it already felt like it was in progress. You know what I mean? Right. So just the unpredictability of both shows, I felt like kept the crowd on their toes. Love the chants at the Barclays Center Monday and Tuesday night. I know some fans don't like it. Sometimes I get sick of the chants too. But I feel like Raw after Mania and SmackDown after Mania are the two shows where, at least for me, it's all
London crowds.
Yeah. It's one of those where it's like, you know what, chant away, have fun, because it's typically your hardest of the hardcore fans, and they don't usually cross too many lines as far as that goes, So unless it's Roman Reigns in the ring, unfortunately, but. The one major thing amongst all the other stuff that's been going on, obviously Kofi's great moment. We talked about all that stuff. I did think that the way that they sent Dean Ambrose off, not on television, what they had on WWE.com or on YouTube and whatever. Right. I thought that was very, very, very classy. I thought that was extremely well done. For all intents and purposes, there's no reason for them to have to do that, knowing that he could easily go to another company and, having to put somebody over like that. That's typically companies don't do that when, not in eras where free agency is something that can be threatening. And right now, free agency is somewhat of a threat to WWE. I'm not saying it's going to crumble WWE. I'm not being one of those people, but there is a chance of losing some talent to other promotions. And you don't want to put anybody over. And I thought what they did for Dean was absolutely fantastic. I thought, having the Shield in the ring one last time, was very symbolic. It was poignant. It was needed. It was everything as wrestling fans we kind of look for, Yeah. We as fans, we kind of paid for a while, as much as, because of the Madison Square Garden click, incident. We as fans kind of got punished for that too. Not just certain talent, like, Triple H got buried for a while, but we got years of Triple H's career taken away from us where he could have been entertaining us as well, So It's kind of nice to see them do these things now and pull that curtain down and not be afraid, and kind of say, listen, you guys are in the know. It's going to, whatever happens, wherever he goes. Thank you for everything you've done for this company. And I thought it was, for everything that you can say, about WWE and people like to say or not say, I thought there was something very classy about that move. And it's just, I felt like really put the icing on a cake of a very classy, satisfying weekend as a wrestling fan.
Right. And I felt a lot of the cool stuff that could happen in the future. It's interesting after WrestleMania in the past, you would be like trying to figure out if this could be the Raw where they set up WrestleMania feuds for next year. Right. They used to do that a lot when I was a teenager. Not as much these days now because we got the Superstar Shakeup. So before we wrap things up here this week, you have any guesses of who's going where?
Oh, well, first of all, I'm the host this week, so
that's right.
When we wrap,
Go ahead.
So Joshua, I'm going to ask you real quick before we wrap today. Do you have any predictions for the Superstar Shakeup? That's a question I don't think anybody has asked yet.
I'll start with SmackDown. Okay, so this is very big. This is a very big couple shows coming up because a lot of these performers that are going to SmackDown are going to be part of the transition on Fox. So, with that said, I do think that Roman Reigns is going to SmackDown next week. So I think him getting some separation from Seth Rollins and the whole Shield stuff will do a good service to go on SmackDown. Be interesting to see what he does there. I think Braun Strowman might go to SmackDown as well.
I do too.
Maybe Sasha Banks from the female side. You want to add her to the list.
I think Finn Balor is going as well.
Yeah, I think the Demon will go down there too. As far as Monday Night Raw is concerned, I think AJ Styles is going to Monday Night Raw.
Agreed.
AJ, let's see. I wouldn't say Samoa Joe because he's a champion right now, so you can't put him on there.
You can. Everyone's fair game, right?
Everybody's fair game.
New Day can get split up. I mean, commentators, right? Isn't it technically like everybody is, everybody's fair game. Referees are going to get traded.
Probably my favorite show that we ever done for this podcast was the draft that me and you did together when the first Superstar Shakeup started. That was awesome. I think Nakamura is going to Monday Night Raw. I think him and Rusev are splitting, so I'm going to go with Nakamura at that end. And we need to figure out if Ricochet and Aleister Black are going to be on different brands.
I believe they will be.
If it was me, I'm keeping Aleister Black on SmackDown and keep Ricochet on Raw.
I agree with that as well.
And also, I would not be opposed to bringing the Cruiserweight back on Monday Night Raw. They're not going to change the color of the lights or anything like that. You don't have to do that, but having the Cruiserweights, they're getting more momentum on these shows and pay-per-views. I think they deserve an opportunity to come back on Monday Night Raw each week.
Well, and I think something else, too, with the Superstar Shakeup and not knowing where anyone's going or, who's staying, who's leaving, who's whatever. Yeah. I want to use Nakamura as a good reference point. Something we talked about before we went on the show today is, and I got a lot of criticisms for this, and I got a lot of hate mail, and I got a lot of whatever for this, but my concern was never with Shinsuke Nakamura. It was never his work ethic. It was never how WWE was going to book him. My concern with Nakamura was always going to be, is he going to be accepted by the middle, like, quote-unquote, middle America, right?
Right.
And the party I was at over the weekend, like I said, there was a wide variety of people. This one dude legit thought he was from China and just wouldn't stop all night. And he didn't realize he was from Japan. He didn't realize he was Japanese. So all night it was like, oh, this Chinese dude, I just don't understand. I just don't get what is his gimmick? Like, is he just some Chinese guy? And I'm like, well, he's Japanese, and even after correcting him like a couple different times, it still carried on with the Chinese. And it's like, oh my God, please stop. But I feel as though that's unfortunately, like, when everyone says, oh, it's WWE ruining Shinsuke Nakamura. No, it isn't. No, it isn't. Like when I go when I go somewhere for the first time, that's all you hear, is this, quote unquote, he's known as this Chinese dude that I can't figure out. That's not on WWE. That's not on Shinsuke Nakamura. That's on you as a person.
Right.
So that's why I wanted to bring up as far as Nakamura goes, because I think, Josh, WWE does have to be somewhat cognizant of who they put on what show, because typically the casual fan is going to watch Raw more than they watch SmackDown. But at the same time, with the big launch on Fox, that's a great point to bring up. With the big launch on Fox this fall, you want to have some of your major names on both shows. And how do you make both audiences happy? When, in a way, for a while, it did feel like Raw was the corporate show and SmackDown was kind of like the edgier show. It tends to flip flop, but. I think from SmackDown going over to Raw, I think maybe if they don't go over as a team, like if which it looks like they're about to break them up anyway, I would love to see Paige come back and manage Absolution. That being the whole thing. You and I talked about it. It's probably going to be the Sky Pirates. Josh, that was your idea, not mine. But if they're not going to do anything with Mandy, with Mandy and Sonya anymore, this is the perfect way to kind of have them split. And I would put Mandy Rose on Raw right now. like right now. I mean, I think she is your Raw tends to be a little riskier. It goes later at night, past 10 o'clock. You can get away with a little bit more. So with how they're framing her character, and it has nothing to do with her character is the over-sexualized character. Period.
Yeah.
Has nothing to do with like, oh, let's get Mandy right. You know, Val Venus closed Raw with Choppy because it was one of the adult storylines at that time, and they did not want. They wanted to make sure it was as late as possible. Yeah. So, and if you don't know, go educate yourself on Choppy. But
I got a couple more additions. Asuka to Monday Night Raw.
I thought about it, but then I almost feel like that crowd's her and Becky again.
Becky 2 belts. That's
yeah,
she wanted to be.
We got to take the man out of consideration because the man comes around everywhere.
Yep, the man. I was trying to see who else I could add to the list really, really quick. You know, I thought I would like to have Bobby Roode back on SmackDown, but he's still in the tag team. So Kevin Owens, my friend, you go to Monday Night Raw.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think he is just one of them guys that he feels like a Raw guy. He's always felt like a Raw guy to me, you know. And that's not. It sounds strange to say that because it's, you know, there's just something about his intensity and his personality. It screams the red brand versus the blue brand.
And you'll have enough time to be on the show each week instead of not having anything to do.
Right
on SmackDown.
Right.
So.
All right. So before we wrap here for today, I want to get one more thing out of you. Let's get it. We can't get through a show without Bad Take Mania. So give me your favorite bad take of the week. And of course, I'm not on social media anymore, guys. So I don't know and or care. See, the one thing that you'll learn, and I'm going to say this, Josh, how much do you think Michael Jordan checks Facebook or Twitter or Instagram?
0.00.
He doesn't. You know why? Because he don't care what people think about him because he's successful. So it doesn't matter. It does not matter at all. So give me your favorite bad take of the weekend so that I can react off it.
All right, the worst take of the week I saw besides people complaining about the length of WrestleMania or the finish of the women's main event is this. Superstar Billy Graham went on his Facebook, and most of the times whenever there's a big title change or something going on with WWE, he's one of those guys like a Disco Inferno or Russo or whatever who complain about everything that they do.
Still trying to make a name for himself.
Exactly. So he goes on a soliloquy about Kofi Kingston winning the WWE Championship, and he says that if Kofi wants to remain a champion for a longer time, he needs to take steroids.
Wow, which is great advice to give somebody that's in a company with strict drug testing.
Correct.
And it says a lot about the era that actually says more about, and that's not, I don't mean anything negative by that, but if that's your go-to as an insult, there's probably a lot more truth of the era that you wrestled in, otherwise you wouldn't bring up, that wouldn't be your go-to, as far as that goes.
I think in 2019, I think that we're past the point of what physical appearances have to do with what you could do inside that ring or as a character. So the fact that, one, it's a shitty take in general, and why would Kofi need steroids when he basically stole a WrestleMania?
We never question how big Spider-Man is, ever. Why do we question how big like a Daniel Bryan or a Kofi Kingston or a whomever? Like, why? It's a story. Jesus, story.
By the way, Daniel Bryan goes to Monday Night Raw.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I just.
And don't be surprised if Ronda Rousey makes her return at SmackDown.
Whenever she decides to return. Now, does she have a broken hand?
Yes, she does.
She does. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, and you never see anybody get hurt, stuff like that. Real quick, Dark Side of the Ring. There's a channel here in the United States. You might be able to find it. Yeah, it's called Viceland. You might be able to find it worldwide. They have a series on called Dark Side of the Ring. Last night chronicled some incidents between the Macho Man Randy Savage, Miss Elizabeth, Hulk Hogan. You got Eric Bischoff was on talking about it. I have a great amount of respect for Eric Bischoff. I love anytime he has something to say, I always listen. I will admit, Jake the Snake was on there. Jimmy Hart was on there. If you didn't get a chance to see it, I'm going to admit, guys, it was kind of, I felt dirty watching it in a way, just because I don't like to get into like the really grimy, like I don't know. I just don't like people's personal business kind of, anymore. But, this kind of shows you just how wrestling is still exploding. Maybe people like Superstar Billy Graham that are mad that the business is allegedly dead. Maybe he's just upset he didn't get invited he's not getting asked to be on these documentaries that, Jake Roberts is. And listen, Superstar Billy Graham is a legend in this industry. He's done more for this industry than some people will ever do in their lives, so the industry that we talk about, obviously I am not a part of it. However, no reason to have old manitis. All of our balls start hanging down, but that doesn't mean you don't let gravity get the best of you. You get the best of gravity, baby. All right, Josh. Any final thoughts before I start plugging away and give us a final sign off here for our role reversal day?
I just wanted to say that you did a fantastic job. You've always been a good host over the years, even before we started the show today. I'll be quiet.
I'm a dime a dozen. I'm
open to you, if you want to do it again next week, since it is the Superstar Shakeup. If you want to host it again next week, I had fun being on the other side of the mic doing this, so I had a good time. Hope you guys enjoyed the change of pace this week. But something, it wasn't really much of a change of pace. We still have the same chemistry on air and have the same flow as far as the podcast is concerned. So I had a blast, and I just want to say you did a very good job today.
I appreciate that, sir. But you know what? We'll leave that up to our audience. Well, you guys and girls know us well enough, and I hope that no one takes offense to that. I hate saying guys and girls now because I'm afraid I'm going to offend a woman, But then if I say, men and women, I'm afraid I'm going to offend. It's like I don't know what to say anymore. I really don't.
Good brothers and good sisters.
Yeah, And then if I say brother too much, I feel like Hogan. I'm going brother, and it's like come on, man. I want to say bro because whatever. I'm such a pass with everything.
You can't please anybody these days.
Oh, never. But you know what? We'll leave that up to everyone that's listening at home. Who do you want to host next week? Do you want Josh to host? Do you want to have one more role reversal week? And we'll take it from there. But all right, listen, cheap plugs. Make sure you're following Josh, the show. It's really Josh on Twitter and Instagram at the Hoots Podcast. Make sure you subscribe on both Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and listen, guys. If I still wrote it down, no, I didn't. I deleted it off already. But Josh, what is the website that if you want to create your own podcast, start making money off it, start monetizing it, get sponsors, where do you want to go?
You go to anchor.fm/start. That's anchor.fm/start. You want to do a show like this, you want to do a sports podcast, comedy podcast, maybe not a podcast about Donald Trump, who knows? Anything that you want to talk about and you want to do a podcast about it.
I can't mute you because you're recording. I was gonna Tony Reale mute you just for saying that dude's name on here because we are gonna finally get through a show without that dude being spoken.
Yeah.
A show that I host for now on with that name don't even exist in this.
Yeah, that won't happen next week, I promise. But anyways, Anchor, go check it out. It's cool. You could literally log in your information. It's free. You don't have to pay anything. Just type in your info or what show you want to do, and they'll share your podcast on 10 different streaming devices, like the ones Adam mentioned earlier. And it's also available on Android devices as well. So it's not just Apple products on your phone. So go check out the Hoots Podcast on all our channels, and we appreciate your support. Let us know what you think about the podcast.
Yeah, and make sure you guys are commenting, tweet, Instagram, Josh. You guys honestly aren't going to find me on social media. I mean, yeah, I have a couple friends on Instagram, and you guys know who you are, and I appreciate you guys. But past that, I don't really use social media, so I have nothing to plug. But make sure you're following all of Josh's work. Pro Wrestling Transcriptions. Josh, what is the website?
ProWrestlingTranscriptions.com. Go check out all the articles I did over the weekend.
A lot. If you want to see how much work this man puts into his work, just go review those articles. Guys, we hope you enjoyed episode 151, which back in my early 20s, 151 was my jam, which probably explains a lot about why I don't like to drink now in my late 30s. There's only a certain demographic that's going to get that one out there. But from one fireball to the other, listen, it's been a pleasure. I am the Clown Prince of podcasting, villain in training. For my good brother over there, the notorious Joshi, we thank you guys so much for taking time out of your day to spend with us. There's a million different things you could be doing with your day and with your time. I know that time is valuable, and we are very gracious that you spent the past about 2 hours with us. So, once again, for Josh, for myself, we thank you, and we will see you guys next week.